Hi, my name's Franki Doll-Olinger, and you have come to Spiritual Kindergarten again, where I take the time to let you know about the most amazing, empowering speakers and leaders of this world. Today, we have Tim OKelley here, who is just an amazing human being, somebody that I have looked up to. I've gotten the opportunity to speak with him before, and I have met so many people that he has changed their lives. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, very well. This is very, very exciting to be a part of this, and thank you for asking me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's somewhat humbling to hear your introduction of me, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that now you know how people see you. And I think it's important for us to know how people see us. You're an amazing human being. You are a powerhouse. You are a leader. You are one who empowers other people, and you are also one who coaches other people who coaches other people. So you just kind of got it going on the woohoo list. So I would like to ask you a little bit about some of the things that you do. Could you let us know a little about how did you get into this? Who is Tim OKelley? If you were to tell us who you are, who are you?
Tim OKelley is just a guy who is very, very passionate about something that started long ago. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you just quick.
Yeah,
it's one of those connection woo-woo kind of things, but I was raised in the Midwest, lost in my 20s, not sure what I wanted to do. Worked for a restaurant, and the man who owned the restaurant was alcoholic, drunk most of the time, but there was something about him that was special also at the same time. And one day he came up to me and he goes, "Do you read?" And I said, "Not that much." And he goes, "I would like you to read something, if you don't mind." I had no idea what it was. And it was a book. And it was by a man who, of course, I didn't know who Dr. Wayne Dyer was at all. Oh. And he said, "If you would read it, I think you'll like it." And it was, "The sky's the limit" from Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I had never, ever in my life ever felt what I felt inside as I read that. I didn't know that this type of work was anywhere. It wasn't in all-male Catholic preparatory high school. It wasn't University of Oklahoma. Love my Sooners, but it wasn't there. I didn't know where this was, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I put the book down. But that was never forgotten, okay? So many, many years later, I'm out in Huntington Beach, California, looking around for work. I go to another restaurant company, and a man who owned the Red Onion restaurants in Southern California.
I remember. I worked at Red Onion.
You know Ron Newman very well.
Yeah.
One day he comes up to me and asks me if I would like to take a class. And I didn't know if it was on tequila making, wine. I was a beverage director for the Red Onion. I said I didn't know what it was. And he looked at me and goes, "I think you'll like it." Same exact words that Steve Baker told me years ago. But it wasn't a book, it was a class. So I went to the class. I sat there. It was a 4-day class. And as I sat in there, I realized this is that work that was in the book. And so I sat there for those 4 days, and I made some new decisions in my life. I made one of them to change careers, to go find my father after not knowing him since 4 years old. I found him dying in a hospital the next day after the class. I kept him alive for almost a year. He passed away on my birthday. Just phenomenal changes. I'm not saying I changed my life. I'm still me, but I started doing things very different. I started thinking very different. I started feeling very different.
Experiencing.
Absolutely. Life. Experiencing it versus just kind of lost and not knowing what to do. And as I sat there in that class in October 1988, and I watched people opening their eyes, is what I call it. I said, this is what I'm going to do.
I believe I've done one of those classes.
Yeah. And, I heard this man say the other day, and he started off with, he's a beautiful black man. He goes, "I've got to apologize to the black community for what I'm about to say." And I thought, oh dear, this is a little edgy right now. And he said, "Martin Luther King did not have a dream." And I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he said, "The reality is that dream had him." That dream had him. When I heard that, I went, if I was to communicate, that's what happened for me back in 1988, that this work grabbed me and said, "Do this work."
That makes me excited to hear that.
And so just real quick, and fast forward now, I'm working for this company and I'm struggling in my relationship. My relationship ends. I have a 2-year-old daughter. I didn't have a dad. So here I am, not knowing what to do. And a woman who is an incredible woman, Jane Wilhite, came to me and said, let me help. And I said, let me help? What do you mean? She goes, I want someone to help you with raising your child. I went, this is weird. She set it up for me. I walked in, and guess who was sitting in the room? Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Oh my gosh, I would just die.
And that full circle is too much for me to, it's a coincidence. It's, I realize that it's not. There's a purpose. There's something happening, and I'm a part of it. And anything that I can do, anything that I can share, anything that I can say that just makes anybody, their life a little bit easier, their journey a little bit more passionate, then that's who I am. That's what I do.
That's amazing. It's like the universe knew that there was something in you that was necessary to have Mr. Dyer there.
Absolutely.
I met him one time. I have my own Wayne Dyer story. So I met Wayne Dyer one time, went and heard him speak. And it was like so quick. It's not your story, but this is my story. So I'm like, oh, Wayne Dyer. I listened to him speak. And at the very end, of course, everybody is going to shake his hand. And he's walking across the stage. It was one of the Hay House, summits. Walking across stage, shaking everybody's hand. And he got to my hand and he shook my hand and he looked me in the eyes. And it was just it was a cool connection. And then he went to walk away and he stopped. And he turned back around and he walked up and he grabbed my hand and he said, I love your books. And I haven't written a book at that time. I said, no. And he stopped me and he goes, I love your books. And I smiled and I got it and I said, thank you. Wow. And he winked at me and he walked away and he died soon after that. But it was like, wow, it's like he knows. It's like he was here to connect who he needed to connect and push who he needed to push. And then he's like, okay, I'll see you guys later. I'm watching.
Time for me to do other things. Yeah. I've left my work here for us to play with. Yeah. He believed this. He always said this, that every person has a book inside them. Every person has a message. Every human being is here for a message, and it's our job to deliver our message. So for him to say, I love your books, completely resonates with what he was about. So good. Yeah.
You guys should check out Wayne Dyer. If you don't know who we're talking about, that is one of the most influential people I've ever seen, met, or heard in my entire life. Kind of like you. So.
And he's easy. He's not too complex. He's not too far out there. He's very simple and easy to read, to listen to, and to utilize his stuff. That's what I love about him. Because I've read some that I'm like, I don't understand this at all. Let me read it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and I'm smart too.
And I think I am. But he is very simple and very applicable, in today's time. So yeah, I would agree.
Speaking of simple and applicable, tell me about the 5 pillars.
Okay. I've been in personal development, which means in front of people on stage not all over the world, most of it in the United States, most of it in Canada. And almost 30 years now. And over those 30 years, there was always a part of me that was inside saying, what is the shortest, simplest toolkit that I could create to have a dream come true? Because in personal development, you can do all kinds of classes, all kinds of topics and everything. So I started focusing on, if I have a dream, if I want to open a business, if I want to get married, what's the smallest toolkit that I can use? And that's where I came up with, after about 7 years of really studying it, that I came up with, in my belief, that there are basically just a few pillars that if we were to understand, to practice and utilize, we would do really, really, really well in our life, and no matter what area. And so, do you mind if I touch on it for a second?
No, I would love for you to.
So the first one being responsible. Okay. And I tell you what, I got to go back to Dr. Wayne Dyer, and I can hear him in my ear and my heart right now saying that there's not 90% responsible. There's not 99% responsible. There's 100% responsible or nothing. And so what the idea behind this is if anybody has a dream, something that they want to make happen, that's one place we must operate from. And that simply says, I am responsible for my experiences, which means my results.
Right.
So therefore, there's no blame. Now, you present that to the world and people are going to have a reaction to that, because I think most of us were raised to blame.
Well, yeah.
If it doesn't turn out, blame the relationship. I mean, how many relationships that you found out ended, did you ever walk up and go, oh my God, what happened? You don't hear anybody go, it was me, I did this, I didn't do this, I wasn't romantic, you always hear them usually say, he or she, you know, in business, why did it fail? Economy. And so we're really raised that way. So to turn that paradigm, that perception, and really understand that everything that occurs in my life is because of me.
Right.
Then I have the ability to change it. If it's you, then you have to change for me to be happy.
Right.
My wife, I'm married, wonderful, wonderful woman. If I say that my relationship is because of her, then she would have to change for me to be happy. And that's how I lived all my life until I started doing this work. Always just blame something. It couldn't be me.
Right.
Oh, no.
Or, well, this happened to me as a child, so, you know, if it happened to me as a child, how are you going to blame me? But at some point, I always tell people, look, if your parents left you standing out in the rain at 4 years old, shame on your parents. But if you're still standing in the rain, complaining about it as an adult, shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, everything that happens to us, we can turn into something that helps someone else. So there is value in even the worst things.
My dad left at 4 years old. I was not raised with a dad. I was angry.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the best things I am right now as a father. I have a 25-year-old.
And I know that. I've seen.
I have a 25-year-old, and then I have a 4-year-old.
Really?
I'm almost 60 years old. I have a 4-year-old. My wife said, don't you think he needs a buddy?
Oh.
And I'm like, no, I'm done with the kid thing. No. Okay, we are praying again. And I have a 2-year-old, Riley.
Oh.
And then when Riley was born, my wife said, don't you think they need a sister to take care of? That's where I drew the line. Absolutely not.
Give him a puppy.
Of course, we got pregnant again.
Oh, yes.
Obviously, my wife understands intention a little bit more than I do in that regards.
100%
Yes,
intention.
and we did the sonogram just weeks ago, and we have a daughter.
See, there you go. Even manifested the sex.
Absolutely, she did. She was so clear. And so my dad leaving, standing out in the rain, I learned how to stand out in the rain better than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And so I became a dad that I didn't have. Mm-hmm. And it's a thing that so I absolutely agree with you on that. So that's responsible, is that everything we experience, all of our financial situations, the part of our relationship, it is not for us to blame. It is actually, we have created it. Yeah. And once we get that, we can actually create something different. So that's the first pillar that I think is the most important. The second one, obviously, is integrity. Mm-hmm. You know, is be true to our word. Yeah. That what we speak, we live. You know, I'm sure you've heard of the book, you know, The Four Agreements. One of the most powerful statements or thoughts about really anything is just, what does our word mean to us?
Yeah, impeccability.
You know, everything issues forth from our word. And it's so easy to wake up and go, I said I'm going to work out, but then I just don't feel like it, you know? And we do pay a price for that. So integrity being very, very important, that what we say, we actually do, okay? Mm-hmm. The next one is decisiveness. Mm-hmm. And when I created these, I met with an admiral in Hawaii. He's in charge of all the submarine bases all over the world. And I was talking to him and I said, if I wrote a book on leadership, what's one chapter would have to be in there for you to read it? I tell you what, he didn't think. It came right out of him. He goes, if it doesn't have decisiveness in it, I will not read it. And so then I started working with decisiveness, realizing how important that is. If we're going to create something, we have to be willing to say what we're going to do. And instead of, well, let me talk to everybody, let me find out from everybody, what do you think I should do? Someone's got to make the decision. John F. Kennedy stood on front of the platform. You know, his 100th birthday is coming up in 2 days. He stood in front of the whole world and said, we choose to have men on the moon by the end of the decade and bring them home safe. Right. He declared. Right. Without that, it wouldn't have happened. So decisiveness is just that part of us that is willing to state what we're going to have happen. Without it, nothing occurs. So to be able to be decisive, to have confidence, to have our self-esteem high, to have a faith in something bigger, we're not alone. All we have to do is decide it, and things will start working. So decisiveness is very, very important. And then connection. It's just a concept that I think if we don't believe, it feels like we're on our own. I've got to do all this by myself. I've got to create all this money by myself. I've got to make all this happen by myself. And I think that's a little daunting for some people, that it's just too much.
But what do you think about people that say, well, like people like me. My excuse was I am by myself. Every time I relied on an adult or a partner or anybody, they didn't show up or didn't care enough, and I've always been the one that's cared the most. So what do you say to those people who say, well, I don't want a connection because when I have to trust or rely on other people, I get failed?
Okay. Where I would go with that, and depending on what setting I was with them, be gentle, sometimes be a little bit more intrusive. But the whole idea behind that, when I say connection, what I'm not just talking about is human beings.
Okay.
We are fallible. We make mistakes. We say things. We can say we're going to be there to support you until something else comes up.
Right.
What I'm talking about is universal, about something much bigger that's going on out there.
Got it. Because I think a lot of people think when they hear connection, that's what I thought the first time I heard it. And I just wanted to clarify if anybody else thinks it, what connection we're talking about.
Right.
Perfect.
This is a way that I heard it a long time ago, is that everything that's available to you is available to me. Every idea, every bit of money, every bit of energy, every ounce of inspiration, everything is available to you is available to me. And that's not necessarily just in people. That is in universe. And when we get clear and we get decisive and we get intentional, we will start to attract.
So there's not a hierarchy of human beings as far as the ether or source is concerned?
No.
Oh,
No.
interesting.
It's everything. Well, if you believe that we're all connected, and I believe that, we have to believe this. You're already connected to your dream.
Okay.
You're already connected to your goal. You're already connected to whatever it is that you want. If you believe that everything is connected, and we are either pushing it away or pulling it to us.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just by the way we choose to operate our life, by the way we choose to think, by what we think about.
By what we believe in our core. Got
Absolutely. So that's what I mean by connection. When we understand that we're not alone, and we understand a little bit more how the universe works, and that we are actually, this might be a little far out there, but Deepak Chopra said it just the other day that we are the universe.
Yeah.
The universe is not someplace else.
No, we're
We
part
are.
of everything. Yeah.
So we're connected, and understanding that, and then how to use it to have more of what we want. Even in our marriage, our parenting, our businesses, how to use that. And of course, the last one is the one that a lot of us have a hard time with, but it's necessary, and that's action.
Yeah.
You know, without the, I'm not going to, and you have a lot of people who will fight for example, law of intention. Oh, what? I'm going to sit home and all I have to do is think it and it's going to come to me. No, it never said that.
Right.
And this is one of my beliefs, and I know that you teach this a lot more than I do, but one of my beliefs is that I've got to get clear. I've got to be decisive. I've got to know what I want, but then I've got to get up and get out in the world.
Yeah.
I've got to talk to people. I've got to engage with people. And I heard from Mike Dooley not long ago. He said, if you're not out telling people about your goals, you're not in the goal business.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to get out. Tell people they'll know somebody who knows somebody else. And then they're looking for, and that's the part of the connection that works. So action meaning we've got to get out in the world, introduce ourselves, say hello, do things like this, and through somebody else and through somebody else, it will always come.
Yeah.
So those are the pillars that I love and I adhere to, and I know that they work.
That is awesome. I know that you created a leadership/contribution course. What does that mean? Leadership/contribution?
They don't really, it's a bit odd, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
So leadership to me is not necessarily leading people. I don't know, now that I said, I don't know if I lead people. I don't necessarily have people following me.
Okay, fair.
And I know this is wordy, meaning people might choose to follow, people might choose to just listen.
Or lead their mind.
Absolutely. That right there, then, everybody is a leader.
Yeah.
Because we follow ourselves. We make decisions. We don't make decisions. But leadership of self is what that is understanding the 5 pillars, understanding simple things that I can do to lead my life in the direction of where I want it to go. Not how did it end up here? How did I end up with this? How do I end up broke? How do I end up sick? but to end up in a place that they truly want to be. That takes leadership of self-understanding tools, understanding what works, understanding simple philosophies that have been around forever that we weren't taught in school. Yeah. And so leadership of self. And then the other one that I'm really, really big on is the contribution, meaning that I just don't think it works if we keep it to ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't think it's supposed to.
Yeah.
If we just go, I'm going to learn these tools and I'm just going to use it for me and not give that recipe to anybody. I think that there's a challenge with that. And so what I truly believe is whatever you learn, whatever I learn, whatever we are good at, we've got to put it out there. We've got to get it out there to the world.
I believe that is part of I'm going to use the word the problem of the world just because that's what comes to mind. But yeah, there are competitive or creative people. And I think that us trying to keep this to ourselves, I think that's where all of our problems started, is at one point in time, somewhere back in history, somebody decided to keep this to themselves so they could be above or in control.
I would agree to in control. Absolutely. Yeah. I said this in a class the other day. I said, have you ever noticed when you set a goal of losing 5 pounds, making $5,000 more dollars, and I am being a little sarcastic on purpose. Have you ever noticed when we set goals that are somewhat small for ourselves, it's not that exciting?
Yeah.
We even get them and then go, oh, okay, was that it? Mm-hmm. You set a goal to help somebody else open their business. You set a goal even to yourself to help a neighbor, to help somebody else get through something, to help a child get off drugs. Mm-hmm. And then that goal happens. I don't think there's a better feeling.
I agree with you.
That's what I mean by contribution. Other people have to matter.
Yeah. I started out doing this work 20 years ago, and a little bit longer than 20 years ago. But for me, it didn't become really exciting and amazing until I started watching other people who come and they go, oh my gosh, you were right. I have a lady that she started out, she lived on top of a Kmart. She was homeless. And today she owns a home on the hill and is partner in her, the job that she started out with working, and watching her and seeing the smile on her face and just the ease and the comfort of living now is just incredible. And yeah, I think you're right.
There's nothing else that's going to be more exciting than that. I really don't believe it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you heard this, and I don't know who said it. It's been around forever that if you want to get what you want, the answer to that is help others get what they want.
Wallace D. Wattles, 1908.
Wattles said that. Got it.
I believe so. Now, I might be wrong. If I am,
I love Wallace Wattles.
But I'm pretty sure it's Wallace D. Wattles.
Yeah.
The Science of Getting Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's where the creative and competitive earner comes from too.
Absolutely.
So
to not compete, but to create.
That's right.
Create from nothing.
And so I would like to thank you for creating this with me. And for those of you who would like more information about Tim OKelley, you can go to timokelley.com. Mm-hmm. And you can see also, if you search on YouTube, you can find things there. He has a Facebook page. Just go check him out, listen. It's great to sometimes I'll put you on in the morning and I'll just listen to Tim OKelley talk to me and tell me about how my day is going to go. And I'm like, yes, me and Tim got this, And I go out and I create great things. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for creating this and being behind all of this.
Last thing I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
If you were to look in that camera right now and tell them one thing you would like them to know from Tim OKelley, what would it be?
The one thing that I'm most passionate about is that nobody, no person, no thing outside of you can ever upset you, can ever make you mad, can ever make you feel bad about yourself. No one else can cause an emotion inside of you. Only you can, and you're completely responsible for those. That's why emotions are on the inside. We can get hurt on the outside, but not on the inside. We are in control. And if more people get that, I know that bullying would stop because there wouldn't be a reaction. And we could literally change the world if people believed that I am in complete control of my emotions. And then I have to say one more thing, though. Dalai Lama said it just the other day. I don't know if you heard it. Dalai Lama said this, that if every 8-year-old child today started learning meditation every 8-year-old started to learn meditation, we would have world peace in 1 generation.
There you go.
Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you very much.